By request, here are images of pages that turned white in my thesaurus. If you haven't seen videos A and B, parts A and B of Mandela Effect Level 2 Begins, then you might want to see that before you watch this video. On July 26th of this year, 2016, I discovered two groups of white pages, 32 pages in each group, in this thesaurus. I know that the pages were yellow prior because I was going through this thesaurus back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's no way that these pages can be missed. And notice also there's red edging. The red edging still is strong at the top, but although we can't see it this second, but right now you can see that a lot of this red edging has worn off. It was not worn off when I first encountered the white pages. Also notice there's no red edging remaining on the other pages. So I'm going to go through the pages in this book so that you can see for yourself what's happening. These are initially yellow pages, yellowed pages prior to the first group of white pages. I'm going to show an establishing shot and then close-ups of each double page. On the right, you can see the first white page of this group. I call it Group A. It's toward the beginning of the book. So some data as I go through this. The thesaurus was printed in 1946. These international editions, and I have 3 others, received a uniform, characteristic bright red ink or paint around the entire edge of all the pages. Over time, of course, this red wears off and fades. I have other international editions where it's faded less, but even so, it's faded a lot since I first got my first international edition. So I know that the edges are supposed to be red when they're new, but over time they fade. I was surprised to see that the pages in 2 sections turned white and the edging looked brand new on July 26th. Prior to that, I had been looking up words trying to find Mandela Effect spellings of words, and in so doing, I looked up no one and nobody, which are 2 words that fall within what is now one of the 2 white sections. So I looked specifically for those words, and I even know when I did it either on July 6th, 7th, or 8th, because I made a notation of when I made various discoveries. So in that time span, I saw only yellow pages. I went to the specific pages that are now white, and they were absolutely yellow. As you can see here, there's no way of missing this difference if a person can see color at all. So the pages smelled as if they had freshly been printed. I've been around freshly printed paper at printing presses and know what that smells like. And I was shocked to see that the pages smelled exactly like fresh newsprint. This thesaurus has been owned by my wife's dad. He used it from the time he acquired it after World War II to his death just a few years ago. He was, among other things, a poet. In my wife's words, quote, "Yeah, he used it all the time. He used it when he did poetry." I saw him write poetry a ton for years, and he wrote poetry in cycles of about 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, writing poetry every day, using a thesaurus, using this thesaurus. It's the only one he had. During the first hours after discovery of the white pages, the red ink or paint rubbed off onto my index fingers and my thumbs. I felt a slight stickiness, looked down, and my thumbs were bright red. They stayed bright red until I washed my hands. But just to be scientific about it, just to make sure that pressure on my fingertips and thumbs did not enhance the reddening, I didn't touch anything for a while to ensure that the redness I saw was entirely from the red edging that I was thumbing through. And in fact, my thumbs were still bright red. Then I washed my hands and they were back to normal. A major difference. So, a few days after the discovery, 4 days after the discovery of the white pages, I noticed yellowing, substantial yellowing on some, but not all, of the pages. A few pages retained their whiteness. I began documentation of these changes 4 days after July 26th, and have found that even more yellowing appears to have occurred. Here you can see on this page an example of the white, and even if you just get to see a crack of it, it's very different and immediately calls attention to this anomalous page. But actually, there are 32 anomalous pages. The documentation I first did on these pages was on July 26th, about an hour after I discovered them. These JPEGs are straight out of the camera, no adjustments whatsoever, no color adjustments, contrast, etc. adjustments, nothing. The rest of the video will be silent. See Mandela Effect Level 2 begins, Parts A and B. And have a lovely day. Thanks so much for comments. And I'm very, very excited to hear from those who are going to look further into these pages. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Bye. if your sound is still on, here is where I looked for no one. And as I expected, I saw no one. But interestingly, still, in this thesaurus, I haven't seen this elsewhere yet, I see no dash one. On the previous page, that's where nobody is. These are yellowed pages now after the second group of white pages. In the following few shots, I show the pages that were white and how now they are becoming strikingly yellow. This is just a week later. Some of the pages are less different, less yellowed. Now the front page you see is a 70. The front page you see has been yellowed for 70 years. Behind it, there's less yellowing. Here's a good shot of one of the pages that remained pure white. About 3 retained great whiteness. In front is the destruction page, page 92, which was the final white page of this group. And here's a really good shot of a whole bunch of yellowed pages. You can see there are some variations in how they have yellowed. And finally, here are a couple shots showing that these pages, sorry, this is way underexposed, but I didn't want to do any adjustments. So these two are white, and these two are fairly yellowed. It's alternating here. Same thing happening here. And here. That's it. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. I hope you're doing well. That's it. Have a great day. I hope you're doing well. Cheers.